Well, I am digging this music, you guys. Welcome to the stream. My name's Nelson, and I'm going to be drawing tonight. I know it's a bit later than usual, but I've had a really busy day. I've been to the gym, and I've streamed a bit earlier today with a couple of friends. The channel we stream on is called Pokeluxa, and we have a lot of fun playing Pokemon-related games. Or, to be honest, we just draw Pokemon on Scribble, and it's good fun. So that's what I spent today doing. And oh my god, there was a pump class earlier today, and that was so difficult. And I put too many weights on. It's been probably a good year since I've done a pump class, and I put too many weights on because I thought I could do it. And no, my muscles are all sore, and I'm just hurting all over. It's great. It's a great feeling to be back in the gym and being active. Right, I'm gonna get started because it's now 11:15 here in Germany, and again, it's a bit later than I normally like to stream, but this is an ongoing project. Me trying to stream every day of the week, trying to get into the habit of just producing things and being comfortable with just talking online. And yeah, basically, I'm gonna get started. So one of the projects that I've come up with is a historical kind of project, and it's about Mr. Robert Frost here because I really quite like... You know that poem? Everyone knows that poem. It's The Road Less Traveled. And let's face it, everyone's had to look at it, everyone's had to study it, and everyone's probably heard it. Everyone in the English-speaking world anyway. And so you'll be interested to know that that poem, the most famous poem that Mr. Frost is famous for, was actually just a joke. And this is a revelation to me. And it's so typical of what actually happened. So what happened was that Mr. Frost was speaking to college students and telling them about this new poem that he'd written. And this poem he'd written was a joke, or it was intended as a joke for a friend with tongue-in-cheek humor. And the students, of course, they took it as a very profound message, and they just ran with it. And that's how Robert Frost kind of came to notoriety. He was speaking at a college, talking about his friend who was difficult at making decisions. And then, from that, he managed to garner a lot of attention from his poems, for his poems, and yeah, fun fact for the day. So all I'm doing here is I'm just setting up a few... One second, my layer for vectors is gone. I'm just setting up basically a 6-panel comic where I'm going to be filling out the panels of this comic throughout the week. Maybe I'll do it on stream, and if I'm excited, I'll be doing it in my own time, but I'm hoping that this will be an ongoing thing for the week. And basically, I'll just be doing the line work, doing the color work, and filling out these illustrations. So this will be a 6-panel... Well, okay, maybe it'll be 7, maybe it'll be 5. I'll see as I edit and go along. But basically, yeah, it's just a retelling of the Robert Frost story. Basically, how he came to be. How he came to... Well, that poem anyway. How that poem came to be. Right, so I've got his picture there, and I'm not gonna start drawing straight away because I wanna, first of all, I've written some kind of rhyme and poetry myself, and this is my chance to shine as a poet. I remember in English class in high school, we were all asked to write poems, and I was just terrible at it. But now's my time to shine again, because I can write. Well, I have written, I don't know if I can write, but I have written somewhat of some kind of verse, and I'm going to pop it in now. There once was a man who wrote in verse. And I'm reading this off a script that I wrote a bit earlier. So this is the reason that it's just flowing off the tongue. Where in reality, if I was actually doing this, live, then the creative process wouldn't be this quick. And if you're an artist and a creator yourself, then perhaps you already know this. But for those who aren't, people who are creative and people who require that kind of quiet time, that's where creativity happens. And it's not done live. It can be done live on stream if you're really good, but wow, coming up with creative things on the fly under pressure, that's difficult. It's very difficult, and that's why I tend to do my idea generation offline, at best with a pen and paper, and then I bring all of that stuff online because that's where I'm executing. That's where I'm actually just doing the work. The creative stuff takes a lot of energy, and so does the editing. So, so I try to reduce my actual creativity and my idea generation, keep that to a minimum on stream anyway. His name was Robert Frost, and his poem The Road Less Traveled. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the road not taken. I just looked at my notes. It's the road not taken, not the road less traveled. That's the last line in the thing, in the actual poem, but the road not taken. One day, Mr. Frost spoke at a college. Right, and I'm immediately not happy with this font, so I'm going to be changing it back to my standard font, which is called Children. I'm searching for it on this list here, and I will pop that on right now. And there we go. And if you've seen my Instagram, I've already done one comic in this kind of style where each panel is an illustration, full page, well, in the square format. And on Instagram, users will be flicking through, they'll be swiping from right to left, and that's how they're going to see all of the panels in the comic. They're going to be looking at each panel as an individual image, and I'm not doing any panel frame creation or any gutters or individual window frames. These illustrations will just be one per page. All right, that's pretty much the first one. So I'm going to save that. Open up the second one. Poem for the first time before them. Intended as a joke and read tongue in cheek. The road not taken was a piece for a friend. I don't really like the phrasing of this, so I might change this a bit later. But I'm mentally noting that I'm not going to be keeping this phrasing right here. It's a bit clumsy, so I'll fix that once I've gone through all of the others. Intended as a joke and read tongue-in-cheek, and he stood and read the poem for the first time there. Well, I don't know about the first time, so I'm not going to actually put that there. He stood and read the poem there. Intended as a joke and read tongue-in-cheek, the road not taken was a piece for a friend. Written for a friend, and performed tongue-in-cheek. The road not taken was something. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm so sorry, but I'm just gonna. My mind's come to a blank, but I will do something there. Next page. So as you can see, I'm trying to add some rhyming into my own telling of this story, and yeah, it's kind of just to tie in with the fact that I'm talking about Robert Frost and I'm talking about a poet himself. So I'm going to try and inject a bit of my own humor into this, or at least to flex that creative muscle of trying to make things rhyme. It's good fun. I can't do it every day, but it's fun. After doing it in high school, creating rhymes and poems in high school, and not really enjoying it because it was forced, I'm actually enjoying it now because I'm choosing to do this. And yeah, funny that. But much to Mr. Frost's awe, the college students enjoyed it way more than perhaps they should have. And this is true of the story because Mr. Frost, again, he intended the road not taken to be a joke. It was meant to be something tongue-in-cheek to describe the tormented way that his friend always went through life making decisions. And yeah, he did send this poem to his friend Thomas, and I believe that his friend Thomas ended up signing up for a war where he ended up dying in the war, which is tragic. But yeah, this poem was meant to be just kind of a very light-hearted poke at people who take so long to make decisions that ultimately don't really affect much of an outcome, such as going down one road in the wood or the other. I don't think he meant it, perhaps, to be so profound to represent like how the world works and whether you decide to take one career path or another, but of course it does apply to it, and whether or not he intended it to, this is how we interpret his poem, and it's that's part of the fun, isn't it? I think if he was alive today and he realized how many people were analyzing his poem, he'd probably have a good laugh. Now, more than 100 years later, students of literature all over the world still study Mr. Frost's poem. Even if it wasn't intended to be so. Famous poem. Right. So I realize I should just be changing the default settings in the tool itself. So Clip Studio has a thing where you can edit the object that you've created, which will then not affect the actual tool itself, or you can edit the tool beforehand, and then it'll update all of the objects that you create after that point. So I'm going to do that right now because I should have done that at the start. Change my font to children, take off bold, and set it to centered. And now every piece of text that I create after this point is going to have those presets as the default. And that's just how it works on Clip Studio Pro anyway. Right, I'm looking at my notes now. And I'm coming to the punchline of the reason I'm doing this, and this is kind of the non sequitur that I'm going for. I'm talking about how Robert Frost created his poem, and he wrote it, and he performed it, and people took it way too seriously, and now I'm going to turn it onto its head by revealing in this panel that this whole storytelling is kind of in a similar manner, right? So the words that I'm saying on screen, the words that I'm writing on screen, are being performed by someone else. Well, in fact, they're being performed by me, and this is a very artistic thing to do, I know. And it might be a bit too ironic, but basically, yeah, I'm going to turn it on itself, be a bit self-aware. And that's why Robert Frost is a great poet. And the lesson B, listen to your parents. Any questions, kids? 'Yeah, and this is the non sequitur that I mentioned. I'm not trying to take anything away from the poem itself, which is perhaps take the road less traveled, but just interpret it however you like, and put something completely out of the blue there. So listen to your parents. I think that's a nice way to end it. But if I don't like it, I'm going to change it later anyway. All right, having another look at my notes. I'm just going to quickly look up when Robert Frost was alive. (1874 to 1963). And this panel is just going to be a picture of him. It's going to be a portrait. Highlight that, give it a bit of visual difference. So 25 size, and then, center that in the page, and I think that's going to be it. Excellent. So I can, this picture that I've prepared beforehand, thanks to Wikipedia, I'm going to be caricaturing it. Well, okay, caricaturing is a very specific process, and I'm not going to say that I'm going to do that because I'm not a very good caricaturist, but I'm going to try my best to represent Robert Frost's his portrait in my style. And whether that's a caricature or not, I don't know, but I'm going to be drawing him in my own style. So, let's get this layer and paste that in the last panel where he's going to be. Very good. And from the first layer, I can delete him. Now, of course, his little caricature figure thing, whatever you want to call it, it's going to appear in most of these panels, but just to study his likeness, I'm just going to be having a go here at caricaturing. And this is kind of where the art stream actually starts, because if you're looking at this recording, or if you're joining me, I'm so sorry that I've just been writing for the last 20 minutes, but I really wanted to get a stream done today, and part of doing this project, this historical comic, is actually laying out the text, figuring out what I want to say, and I wanted to get one illustration done, and just a bust or an image of him here is going to be it for tonight. It is getting pretty late, so I'm going to be leaving it shortly. So let's do this. So I'm just choosing some brushes to use. And because this is a sketch, I'm not particularly bothered about accuracy. So I'm just going to start with the head, and then there's a bit. It's always important to get the shape of the hair. That's the most important thing when it comes to the hair. Not the individual strokes, it's just the shape of it. Now, I remember a few years ago, I went through and I went ahead and bought the Mad magazine. Man, I love Mad magazine. I used to love reading Mad magazine at the library every month. And well, I don't have a library card anymore. But I used to love reading Mad magazine because of the caricatures, and the caricatures were just amazing. And Mad magazine popped up again on my radar because I wanted to look up how to caricature, because a lot of my ideas for comedy and writing just comes from caricaturing existing people and existing ideas. So but believe it or not, I guess you could say all things are caricatures. Like when you draw a tree, you are caricaturing in your own style, even though it might not seem like it. Alright, so here all I'm trying to do is get the structure of a face. And I'm observing where light and shadow is. I'm looking at shapes. And I'm just blocking in, features as I see them. Nope, that's wrong. And I'm just in the observation stage, so I'm not super concerned with injecting all of my style in here, but I'm just looking. What's the shape of the nose? Does it turn upwards? Does it turn downwards? Am I seeing more of it at this perspective? And the shape of the face. So he's got a pretty long face. Of course, this is an image of him, I think, in his probably 20s. I wouldn't say any more than that. And yeah, so there is one caricature of him. Of course, his eyes should be looking toward the camera, but I haven't quite captured that yet. And I don't need to because this is just a preliminary sketch. So I'm going to do a couple more of these just to kind of play around with style and start getting more confident at reproducing the likeness that I've just tried to capture. So one more with some guidelines. Oops, using the wrong brush. So I'll try to use less of the guidelines. But again, the shape of the hair, very important, like I mentioned, when it comes to caricaturing. I missed a bit of his ear on the other side. Alright, so again, large forehead, so I'm going to accentuate that a bit more. And I'm going to use my line instead of a tool to draw outlines here. I'm going to be using it as a way to draw shadow, just as I did with the nose on the other image. Okay, and I'm blocking in a bit of shadow here. Just using a very light touch of the pen there because it doesn't take much to get a very dark line on this. Okay, something up here with the eye, so I'm gonna have another go at that. Cool. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that as an image of likeness to get a bit of that crease near the cheeks. Sorry, near the lips. And that's fine. I'll get a few of the details in on the shirt and neck as well because I'm not going to be dressing him up in anything else. I'm just going to be basically reproducing this image. And we're using the clothing that he's wearing here in this reference image. I'm going to be using that same setup in my comic. So this is what happens when you want to learn, or when an artist wants to learn about a new subject. He or she will basically study the material, will study the subject. Yeah. So with any kind of new project, when you're looking at some different material and a different kind of subject matter that you've never drawn before, then this is basically what artists will do. Just kind of learn learn their subject, get familiar with their subject. Now I can see that the shape of the jaw is wrong. He's a lot younger in this image here because it's a lot more rounded, whereas here he's got a bit more of that kind of shape going on. Um, I can try and fix that. Oops. I keep going for the wrong brush. Unintentional. I'll just switch to my other eraser because I don't want to erase the entire line. I just want to fix this portion of it. And yes, I should be using the tools given to me by Clip Studio to edit the curves. And I will do just that because it's possible. Good. All right. Look, I'm pretty happy with that. I actually am. And I've got the basic stuff down to start doing my illustration. I'm not going to continue today because it is already quite late, but I'll start shading a little bit. And getting that eraser in there as well. Because this brush I'm using is very similar to like a graphite brush, and that's kind of, oops, kind of what I'm going for with this very historical looking look at the man and his poem, his very famous poem. One that is kind of relevant to me at the moment because I'm not really sure where things are going to go in the next few months. Things are going to be a bit different. I'm going to be more than likely moving house or moving apartments, and yeah, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. It's all very exciting. And that's what got me into looking up the road less traveled because it just seems so relevant to me. And then I read up more on it and found out that it was a joke. That poem that everyone's been, using as some kind of guide to live their life by, turned out to be a joke from one man to another, which is, you know, funny if you think about it. And anyone who kind of feels like they're angry at Mr. Robert Frost for making a joke out of his poems. It's like, nope, we all make choices based on, well, we all make choices, and you know, those are our responsibilities. So, if you decide that you want to take the road less traveled because, quote unquote, Mr. Frost told you to do so, or some poem on the internet told you to do so, you can't do that. You can't do that. No one's going to take you seriously. I could shade forever. It's just so fun. It's just so fun. But I won't because I need to get to sleep soon. Um, yeah. And I want to get the same depth of darkness and values up here because that is going to give the image the realism. And I don't know why I'm going for realism. This is like it's still my style, but it's starting to look very very good. And I'm really happy to leave it at that. All right, thanks for watching. I'm so happy that you're here watching. I'm so happy that you're enjoying my content. Please give me a like and comment on my stuff. I'd love to hear from you, what you're enjoying, what you think I could do better. And yeah, follow me on all of my social media. All the links are below on the Twitch channel. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, where I'm going to start filling out a bit more of this historical comic. All right then. Have a lovely evening. Hope you had a great day before you. And I'll see you again next time. Bye now.